the stage.
Peanut and Delight in particular, I think need to step it up after that game. Viper, definitely Guma got the better of him, but I think part of that is also the matchup and the fact he was playing MF, which you know, we're still not super excited about. But Peanut needs to step it up. This player is very important for how this team functions, because we have highlighted the contrast between really both of these two teams and teams like Gen G is that their junglers are often enabling. Now, after that Wukong performance, I'm not sure if I can still say that about Owner, because he did kind of go haywire. It was 10-1, I think, near the end. But more often than not, their job is to facilitate early action and try and make sure that these skirmishes go the right way, as this is a clear Rumble B1 setup here for Hanwha.
Unless the Trundle is banned, in which case it's a clear Scion B1 pickup.
That's the big branching path. As I was on the same page as you, Max, I was thinking that we're going to see a Trundle ban to come through here in this final spot. And that would have, of course, likely just ban T1, or force T1 to ban Scion in that third slot. As
there it is.
And so that's what we're going to see. So you can ban Scion here unless Doran has something prepared into it, but the Gwen is already gone. Doran not known to play Nidalee in the top lane, so I imagine they'll just take it away.
But if you
might just Yorick.
Yeah, if you ban Scion, you do play into the Rumble, right?
Yeah.
Which, that is definitely something that's quite scary, especially with Gwen already taken up the board.
See what they do decide to take away here. It might just be the Rumble because it is the more frightening of the two options. Let's see, it is going to be the Rumble. So there we go, Scion up and available. Can just be locked in here for Zeus.
is not necessarily a Scion-type player. He doesn't like to play tanks as much, but I feel like Scion, the mastery we've seen in the LCK this year on this pick, you can Zeus Scion. Like, you can be aggressive, you can trade aggressively, you can win lane on Scion for sure.
We've also seen him carry team fights just with the way he's able to get into the back line, be a giant behemoth. This does open the possibility of a Doran Camille, which I'm kind of down for.
You think
what if they just
Camille TF?
Could you, I'd love to see it again. They won't be able to get the Trundle alongside it, which is also phenomenal in that. I mean, that
so
draft
fun.
Was the quintessential perfect 1-3-1. Was so beautiful to see it, but we're not going to see an exact replica of that. There are still certainly opportunities.
Other picks like the Rise, the Victor were ones I think T1 were considering here going into this first part of their red side draft, just because they're champs that can side lane really well. I mean, you already know that Scion is going to be on the Rift, so his side laning isn't very strong necessarily. It gets the later parts of the game, and Guma will get his hands on the Varus, which does give a roar through the crowd as it's one of his most famed picks.
Yeah, particularly right here. I think that makes a lot of sense. A little smile there.
I do think that it's going to be a different flavor. I think he has to be the on-hit version if he's ever going to get through this round.
For sure. Also, the Xin Zhao is open for Peanut. Xin Zhao Victor, to me, makes a lot of sense. The Victor theoretically should have a really good matchup into the Rise, be able to bully it out, outrange it with a pretty substantial margin. You can also do this, and it is Zeka, so I am completely okay with this.
And I also imagine Zeka is probably a bit mad after the last game because he did play decently well. Instead, he just plays Victor, which is a little bit of a shame, but I think makes so much more sense in the context of this series.
I agree.
Because taking the Victor away from Faker is
the fearless angle.
Yeah,
exactly. It's a fearless angle, and it's very powerful here. Now let's see what that counter pick is going to be for Doran, or perhaps just to lock in the Pantheon and prio that, so you can have double global with Rise Pantheon here. And that still allows you to play, you know, picks like the Camille incredibly well. It's a similar story. You just side lane pressure, you have that global to back it up, and you just blow up the carry in the back line when you engage in the team fights.
There's still the off chance that this is Pantheon support carry. I has played it before. I don't think it's likely. Given the performance
very good.
No, it was bad. It was bad. I just feel like we should mention it. Because it did happen before. But
and the Camille ban is so obvious here, right? And the Xayah ban furthers like the same sort of identity where you're like, okay, I'm going on the back line. We've got a Victor here that's fairly vulnerable. I don't want them to have the Xayah, that extra safety. So it does make a ton of sense. You could also ban Ezreal here, I suppose, in the same vein as T1.
I don't know about Vayne. Haven't seen her.
No matter who I'm casting with all this, it does it to me every time.
Did you catch that cool cinematic?
Yeah.
Yeah, with Vayne. She was in it.
She's in the cinematic, and we all watched the Uzi video.
I know.
Yeah.
The Renata ban is interesting here, as Varus Renata is really powerful in lane, but
I like it with the Nico banned already.
Yeah, well, the Renata isn't that high value against Hanwha's comp in team fights yet. So that's the part that was a little bit puzzling to me, but I do think it's a strong laning support. But Keria, we know he has a few range supports he does like to play.
Let's see what he's thinking about now as Gumiyushi's pick is to come through. The Poppy.
Yeah, this is
Could be that
almost a
support gang
triple
angle.
flag.
Yeah.
Right? Because you can put Poppy top, which I don't think you really want to do that into Sign, but you could, right? And then the Pantheon, Poppy, both could go in multiple positions, so we don't really quite know yet where everything's going, and I like this from T1. This is one of the things that you can do on red side, as this is a no-brainer. Jhin, and then maybe Nautilus is one that you could look towards if you want to have a guaranteed way of locking down that backline. Leona is still open as well.
Leona feels a little bit safer here, especially because you have, if you have Leona in this, you have such a great front line. You have Xin Zhao, Leona, and the Scion, and you just engage from far away, and the Jhin can follow up. But the Nautilus, I think, does work here. You might want to save it for later.
Rakan?
Yeah, Rakan is difficult to
Rakan
play
and
into
the
the Poppy, obviously.
I mean, it is, yeah.
Okay,
it will be it.
And this is purely because the Poppy was on the other side, looking like it was possibly heading into the support position, and Best are going to be locked in. And now the question mark is still between the Poppy and the Pantheon, but Ona's Pantheon has been so incredibly good.
I think when you're playing a comp like this with the Ryze, you want to have the Pantheon in the jungle because he's going to be more omnipresent. He's going to be able to follow up on the side lanes a little bit better. We'll be able to get into the backline. We'll just have more farm to access the Jhin and the Victor, just more powerful as a champion there. The Poppy, much more utility-based, is going to still be able to make that impact with their ultimate in the jungle. Can be decent into the Nautilus, obviously, is great for anti-dive. So a Poppy quite strong when you have a strong pushing lane like the Varus. And I like this setup with Keria on Poppy more than had it been Owner's Poppy.
Oh, yeah.
And T1 is playing a very similar style, right? We have a Keria in the top lane. We have a very brawly, kind of looking for the skirmishes style composition with the double globals. Home Alive kind of pulled back. They're like, okay, we tried a more skirmishing style. It just didn't work at all. Part of that was the play, but I think part of it is Homa just saying, we are going to play it safe. We're going to play a lot more around Viper. We're going to get a consistent teamfight comp, and we are just going to match in the 5v5, which last game they weren't able to.
Yep, and I think you say around Viper, but I think a lot around Zeka as well. I think this composition does kind of scream, Zeka played really well in the last game. Let's all facilitate that and see whether he can take us over the line, because the Victor is going to be doing so much of the damage in the later stages of the game. We'll see how well the Jhin is going to perform, but we know sometimes struggles on those numbers later on. And T1, once again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And they've got carries coming from just about everywhere and ways to really mess up these fights. Let's get into game number 2 and see whether T1 can get to an early match point.
T1 하나 둘 셋.
Oh man, you really get an idea of how many people there are in the Sajik Indoor Stadium here when they do the T1 fan chant. You absolutely do. This place was shaking.
I'm pretty sure that's also the same skin, and he's on the same position as he was in the quarterfinal against LNG when he found the outplay, Guma.
Oh
the 1v2, you know, when our mutual...
Wait, and he has gone lethality.
Yeah, when our mutual friend, Mr. Draco, said that he's just better. That was right here.
I was also in the arena when that happened.
I was here as well. And I think I had hearing issues after that.
That was a good play. Taking a look at the rune setups here, I don't think we see anything too surprising. Zeka going for Airy for maximum attempt at keeping the pressure in that lane. And Keria, he is perhaps the biggest enjoyer of Spellbook. This man, I feel like on every single champion where you don't strictly need something else, has been going it.
Yeah, and is going to give you a lot of power, especially because how well Poppy can just straight up TP to an objective and ult 2 people away or just ult the jungler away. I want to be able to be anywhere at any time with that teleport. And the double smite, obviously quite powerful when you also have a Varus, as Guma has proven in the past. Did go for Comet in this game. Did not go for lethal tempo despite the Scion that is on the other side. Just knowing there's a ton of damage with this Ryze, I suppose. Feels like he wants to hit those backline targets and blow up the Victor, follow up on the Pantheon. I suppose that's the idea.
They do have a lot of damage, and Doran should be able to have a decent chance of getting through the tanks. Oh my goodness, it's a lot of damage onto Keria. Viper with that 4th bullet available takes him down below 300.
I still get caught off guard how often these level 2 spikes just completely cook a bot lane. You're like, guys, I know all of you know. We know. But still, nicely done there as Guma.
Okay, Guma in a lot of trouble here as he's lit on fire. Delight catching him off guard there just a little bit. We don't have a lot of context as to what was happening here as Zeka pushing Faker underneath the turret. The Victor actually doing a decent job here in the lane thus far. That death rate starting to hurt.
Yeah, Guma just wanting to get that last wave, but unfortunately will not get it as a result of that Ignite. Can't stay for it anymore, so a lot of minions lost. I mean, he's sitting on 6 CS.
That's a really big deal. I want you to look at the experience bar as well.
Yeah, it's crazy. He's a whole level behind, a full level.
Okay, that's insanity. Still, the wave is stacking up, and at least Carrier will be able to get a level or two, but still, I like that we're checking out the Zen lane. As I say Zen, my god, Doran is so close to dead.
Like I said, you can Zeus this now.
Yeah.
Sion is very strong.
He is going to eat a potion. That should help him, at least momentarily.
Hit the roar.
Yeah, the roar of the Slayer, cutting that armor down really does mean that Q hurts a lot.
He still has Cookie as well. Zeus is really, I think, feeling confident. Peanut, this is even, like, with Zinzo, you can't dive this. He does get pinged, so I think that they do have a suspicion. Peanut not going to run the risk. I don't know if they know where Owner is. Owner, of course, now currently on that bot side, Krabby.
Yeah.
Scary moment there for Doran, though, for sure.
Yeah, so things going okay as far as the laning phase is concerned, but that is not what HLE had. Like, that wasn't the problem that they had. It was coordination in teamfights and skirmishes where the issues started to crop up, and that was where T1 started to excel. Speaking of which, Owner comes towards this mid lane as Zeka. That's a decent amount of value on the gravity field. Doesn't have to use the flash, but had just teleported back to this lane. That is a big deal.
It doesn't feel great when you come back to lane and lose most of your health, and now struggling to get the trades you were looking for. It's too high risk. As question mark ping's going down here on T1 on the location of Peanut, tracking where he is well here as the lane swap does come through. Carrier is going to have to babysit this wave here, but again, so much farm lost. Once again here for Guma, finds himself now nearly 20 CS down.
20
He's not going to get this whole wave either.
At 5 minutes into the game, that is a very large number. Still, might be able to get some value from this lane swap, and there is a cannon up here towards the top side, and he does get it. There's the piercing arrow to lock that one down. So Gumisha coming on over, and Zeus might park himself in this brush, but of course T1 did that little strategy yesterday, so I don't think he's going to get caught off guard.
No, you can see Guma stand still. I'm pretty sure he just was kind of waiting for Zeus to walk out. Not going to fall for it. As we have both teams, I think, looking towards that dragon.
There's such a huge hole in the top and bottom lane in terms of farm right now, in terms of experience. There's a significant lead, obviously, still there in that top lane, but Dragon is going to go the way of T1 here. Timings of these resets, later back for Zeus, and this is Carrier coming over with Owner, and obviously with the, Ambessa in the bottom lane who hits level 6, there's just no real opportunity for contest. You see Zeus is going to ult back to the bottom wave here to catch on what he can, but the Dragon still goes over. So once again, T1, full Dragon control in this series.
Still, I feel like HLE have been really good at picking up every minion wave, so getting maximal experience in this game thus far. As Doran's looking to go a little bit aggressive here towards the bottom side. Farming Cinder now done for Zeus. He can continue pushing things pretty comfortably.
It's interesting, though, that T1 basically had 2 losing lanes and was still able to get Prio on the objective, right?
Yeah, it's a bit weird.
It's with the timing of the resets, like Zeus reset so late and didn't have TP and then just ulted down, and they were like, all right, because Doran went first. Doran had TP, TP'd bottom, and I think that's a big part of why Hano were not able to contest there. And I feel if you look at the experience, you can see Guma's actually completely caught up to Viper with the time he spent alone there in the top side. So still a significant CS difference that you can see reflected in the gold lead for Viper, but things looking a little bit better than they were moments before.
We also have Peanut, who was just pathing towards top side. And as you say, really not looking to contest. And the first Dragon, I don't think is really going to be too worrying, but it's more in the context of the series thus far, where objective control really has been T1's strong suit. But Humble Life this time around can be very happy to just kind of sit around until they've hit like an item and a half at least, with the amount of scaling that they have. T1 obviously still have elements that scale well. I think the Rise is a no-brainer. Poppy really never loses value, and Ambessa becomes a much bigger problem in side lane. But as a cohesive unit, I do think you can struggle as you get towards the later stage. And if you have to fight 5v5s against Honwa, and you can't get on top of Viper, things can become very tough.
Well, speaking of things that are tough, Zeus here underneath his outer turret in the bottom lane. Ooh, Roar of the Slayer going to get blocked here by the Scion. By the Ambessa. That's going to deny a bit of that farm. As Zeka dealing with Faker here in the mid lane, who did creep towards that bottom side. That's why we were saying that Zeus could be in trouble, and still he might be, as Owner is in position.
Faker as well,
Yeah,
threatening.
Commit, but they're just going to get plates out of this, and it's going to deny Zeus a lot of farm. So this is still a big win, even if they don't get a kill. And Doran is even looking to deny it back here. We'll proxy this wave. And obviously on the top side, this means grub control does go to Peanut, but with a Sion and a Victor, do you really care that much as T1 if this does go over? I think the answer is probably no.
Yeah, a lot of damage from that dancing grenade, but like you were saying, Grub's going to be the trade for a decent amount here towards the bottom side. Zeus is just trying to play that weak side Sion. And here is the Realm Warp in as Faker off to the side, doesn't get hit by that Q, and in comes Owner to finish him off. First blood going over to the Pantheon as a teleport. Does come through. Actually, Zeka just walking down towards this bottom side as Faker just executes himself, denies the money to HLE.
That's huge. And, you know, if that Q hits on the Realm Warp, it's a little bit different, I think, for how the story does eventuate, but Faker's able to avoid it. And that's a big win. You know, no real loss here for Hanwha Life. Or, sorry, no trade back for Hanwha Life.
I feel like the only cross map we're getting is Peanut
Red buff?
getting red buff.
Yeah.
That's not really what you're looking towards. Zeka got close, but not actually getting it, and still committing his flash, right? So that is a even trade in summoners, and obviously a big trade down here with, I think, so close as well, Zeka to trying to get on top of Faker's. Uh-oh.
There's Depth Charge, and there's
Dead.
Main CC. I think he's dead. Yeah.
They got him this time.
Yeah, they did get him this time, so there we go. 1 versus 1 as far as those kills are concerned. Here on the bottom side of the map, Doran in a little bit of trouble as well, but is able to dash out of the way of the gravity field, and he will be, at least for now, okay. And that is just going to be the Gromp stolen away by Peanut. Viper here in this mid lane, actually getting some plates himself, so that gold lead's still going to be there for HLE.
Yeah,
All plates actually going over here. Zeka collects another on the bottom side.
Peanut's here, and Viper has his ultimate, so there's just no way that you could try to collapse there and punish that. So that was a really good judgment by Hanwha Life in that situation. Zeka gets the plate, they get the kill onto Faker. That goes over to Viper as well, and we'll see how this did all break out. Yeah, it's just Peanut and Delight on the other edge. Delight flashes for the ult, and it's really easy to just chain this CC together. Nothing Faker can do.
Very straightforward play there. Nicely done. Good roam by Delight and Viper. And what we're seeing now, I think the pivot from Hanwha that they made in draft is warranted, because the game that KT did win yesterday was when T1 wasn't able to completely break open the game in laning phase, right? We've seen this team really excel when they can just keep accelerating the pace, keep catching people off guard. This comp obviously still does that insanely well with the double global, with the Poppy. So if you ever have a moment of weakness, if you're not ready to contest an objective, you can definitely get in trouble. But this time around for Hanwha Life, the engage is amazing. The front to back is really threatening. And now, at this point in the game, they can go for that Sion dive.
Yeah.
That's not going to remain the case.
I think for T1, speaking of the objectives, Hanwha might not be ready for with this Poppy and double global. They're not set up for this one, and Peanut's just gone.
Case in
and,
point.
We just knew like exactly what was going to happen here in Hanwha Life. We're only really half contesting anyways.
It's a bit early.
Hanging around.
Yeah, this dragon is going to be secured. Deadly Flourish not going to be enough to stop that one, as it is going to be an Ocean Soul, not the most pivotal, but still something worth going for here as T1 are set up. Only one away from Soul Point here in this game. There is still so much pressure.
They got Doran's TP, and he's still going back to the top lane. They're not going to send Faker there, so Sion going to get some alone time here, and that's a small win that Hanwha get back, but still T1 once again stacking these dragons.
Well, Zeka here on this bottom side catches the wave. Faker lying in wait. We'll see whether any sort of jump scare will occur. Looks like it's probably not going to be too much of an issue as Carrier moving into the enemy jungle. I don't think he's going to be able to stop Peanut from taking away his own blue buff, but still getting so much information and vision on this Poppy.
The Carrier is saving a smite for more important matters, such as stealing dragons.
Indeed.
Still,
or Barons.
Barons, Archons, really anything that actually tilts the game in favor. Viper, definitely the most ahead member here for Hanwha Life. My question is, how much are they actually going to be able to use that? Because the Jhin, obviously the ult is going to always get a crazy amount of value with the amount of frontline and CC that you have in your team. But actually walking up to so many of these characters on T1 is a really, really big task. And Doran, thanks to the attention that's been paid by the rest of his team, has actually been looking good. And I think a lot of this does go again back to the fact that we haven't really seen Peanut still in this series.
Yeah,
and he's normally the guy that gets stuff going. And it'd be fine if Zeus is sacrificed and Viper is really put ahead. But this lead is fairly negligible.
I am more interested in Zeka being ahead. The problem with Zeka being ahead is going for a very safe build here with the Rod of Ages. And not going full damage.
Trying to connect here is, okay, they're going to go for the chain CC. Carrion tries to move himself out of the way, but Peanut locks down that kill and just caught napping here a little bit. The Poppy. So Carrion now lying down might be a big in here for HLE to try and get this snowball rolling.
Yeah, they might just look to try to somehow get this full turret as they look for owner.
Yeah, another hook does come through. There's the audacious charge as Faker is off to the side to make this an actual 2 versus 2. But Zeka comes over to make it 3. Gumi usually a little bit later. The Arcane Storm, not quite enough as the Chains of Corruption comes in and Peanut taxis his way out with the Grump. Knocks it up there as well, but the Realm Warp is coming in. Peanut does have to flash as another hook is going to come through as Viper has to cleanse as Kerry is back once again. Okay, Keeper's Verdict does get him out of there. Now Faker is the one left alone. Zeus turns up. Enough of that funny business, says HLE. It's Viper that gets the kill.
And
what
this time,
happened?
Yeah, this time T1 is the one trying to heavily overcommit to a play, and they get punished massively.
Yeah, I mean, Peanut initially looks like maybe he has as we're not done yet.
All right, there's a Grand Starfall underneath the turret here onto a gravity field as Ona, he can't tank the turret anymore, and Peanut in a good position this time. Huh?
Yeah,
What?
not really sure.
That was my analysis at the end. I put the analysis at
I'm
the end.
on this. I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
Not really sure about that one. I mean, it's only 4 stacks of Rod of Ages for Zeka, but it's not about the build. I think just about the fact that there wasn't great follow-up there, and you're going.
If he doesn't do the damage, don't worry, the turret will.
I do think that this right here, this is just how it works with T1 Escuma. Does he have Nimbus Cloak? I feel like that's why you would barrier there to get out.
I mean, maybe he thought Delight had his ult back up because his ult just came up
Yeah,
now,
yeah,
so
so
Flash ulti could have still caught it.
Well, yeah, so you barrier so you get the movement speed from Nimbus
Right.
Cloak, and then you walk it off.
He has a Ghost Blade as well.
No, I think with T1, they always go for these plays. And in Game 1, we see it work out. In the series against KT, it does, and it looks amazing. And now here, we're just left scratching our head and go, you could have chilled out a little bit.
There's been a bit of, you could have chilled out a little bit on both sides throughout this series.
Yeah,
thus
Peanut's
far.
the same.
Yeah.
Because this isn't really the kind of Jhin snowball we were talking about. This isn't really quite the same sort of like, I wonder how they'll use that. Like, oh, the Rod of Ages on Zeka, you know, it's not a lot of damage, but we'll see how it works out. And then T1, I think, just gifted opportunities to Hanwha Life with misjudgment on how much damage they have in these situations. Faker down flash as well now feels pretty bad. And for Hanwha Life, you know, a few minutes ago you were starting to feel like, okay, this is going to be a tough one to play out, but now you're feeling so much more comfortable.
This could be a little bit dangerous though, as Doran looking for an opportunity, but the Xin Zhao is here. The knock-up comes through, Wind becomes lightning. There's the knock-up from Zeka. Zeus at the same time, as Doran might be able to flash his way out of here, but Zeus is right over the top, looking to try and chase him down. But remember, it's an Ambessa, so he has better running away.
But I want everyone to look at the vision on the top side river right now, where Doran was pushed up past where the turret's husk is, where it's just tons of vision for Hanwha Life, none for T1. A very aggressive call there that nearly backfired. He loses his flash. And, I mean, I guess they could call that a backfire. As now we're looking for a flank for Keria.
Okay, Drake is currently being taken here by Faker. Zeka moving on in. Peanut with that Wind becomes lightning. Carrier looking for that flank angle, wants to hit the Keeper's Verdict to make this a man advantage for T1. As he finds it, it is just about perfect as now they just single out Zeka. That is going to be killed on the other side though, as both mid laners are now lying in the dust. The curtains are being called, and T1 has split the flash forward from Delight as now Zeus turns up to be that monster in the front line. But Carrier is still being a menace. Zeus is looking to lock him down as Gumayushi over the wall is getting the pot shots in. Viper now singled out by Doran, who still has a lot of damage, and Zeus will be cut down where he stands. HLE once again losing a team fight.
And it's just way better coordination here from T1 in these moments. The Flash Keeper's Verdict from Keria on the flank was absolutely insane. It gives them just enough space. And then you see the flash from Guma over the wall. So starts off with Keria here, over the wall, Channels, flashes, gets the double knockaway, and that's the Scion gone here.
Keria.
And then look at the follow-up here when they look to collapse onto Guma. He's able to get over the wall, which is so critical to do the rest of the damage.
And I think Viper, those shots, it's a Pantheon. You're just never going to get him if the E is up, trying to take him down. And then obviously once you get to this point, you're just a Jhin trying to run away. Even without the ult, Doran has no tough time getting on top of this Jhin. And they knew that Keria was there. They were just caught off guard by that ultimate that single-handedly secured them soul point. And I don't think they were out of the game, but they were definitely falling further behind. The 5v5 looked good for Hanwha, and now, all of a sudden, gold lead is negligible, and there is that soul point. And Ocean Soul and Bessa, Ocean Soul Rise, it's a little worrying.
It's just these same T1 best of 5 stories we tell. It's the same objective control that they've been famed for across this roster. Again, with a different top laner now, but the rest of the core is exactly the same. And that's something that takes years to build. You can't just build a roster and put Zeus into your roster as Hanwha Life and then have that same coordination. I think they're very close, and their team fighting's been insane. But in this series, it's just not on T1's level, and it feels like T1's peak coordination comes in these really important pivotal series. And in this first 2 set of games, it has been around Dragon specifically where you're seeing it really shine.
And you're also seeing our POM from yesterday really shine. On your screen right here, Doran, most damage in the game, although cheating a little bit because he's been fighting a Scion the entirety of the time, but still getting so much work done, and I felt like he was the difference maker, right? He was that extra threat as HLE thought that they'd been able to knock a couple down, right? Zeka and Faker were traded, but then you still have so much more damage available on T1's side.
And from this point on, the matchup only gets better. You have the armor penetration on your passive, or in your ultimate rather. You have Black Cleaver and Eclipse, and you're a full level up.
Yeah.
So, yes, Zeus is going to still be tough to get through for some of the other members. Obviously, Guma is a big one. And I do think that once Zeka hits the second, and particularly the third item, there are still plenty of opportunities for Hanwha. They still have a decent setup in gold, but they need to find an answer. This Poppy specifically, I think, is what really brings this T1 comp into we're T1. We can really get away with any situation that we like. Territory, as long as they don't let multiple members get immediately taken out of the fight.
It's so hard to punish that play from Keria as well, even though they knew he's there. You know, you don't want to give the Dragon up. It's the way that T1 did it, where they started the Dragon early, threatened to secure the Dragon to force Hanwha in while he's on that cross angle. You know, it's not as simple as just he got lucky, he flash ulted, and they didn't know. It just puts Hanwha into so many different uncomfortable positions where they have to make the exact right call, and the exact right call is not easy to make, and you have to make it in such a short period of time. That was a great play from Delight to almost get Guma, you know, but at the end of the day, T1 pulling ahead in this one objective-wise, still down in gold, but it feels less significant as Doran.
Public execution goes in as Viper is just going to get executed. They blow him up, and now the Chains of Corruption to hold Zeus in position. The rest of HLE trying to get here, but 2 are already on the floor, and T1 are just happy that they've showed up for the slaughter. The knockup comes in though, and Doran is going to be taken down, but Delight will also be returned as another one. And there is the keeper's verdict. Keria not going to opt into it, but they've still won the fight.
Salvage there from Peanut and Zeka to turn this into not a complete disaster, but I still think that T1 are so happy with it. Is it? Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was, figured out that Keria was there. But that's probably still going to be out of comp. Peanut doesn't have Smite, or does have Smite, but doesn't have Flash.
Keria has Smite as well.
There's no shot. Like, there's Ultra Keria, there's 2 Smites. I don't think they can do this. I guess they're respecting the TP from Zeus and the fact that Jhin exists, and they're not going to run the risk. And also Soul Point is already there. Soul's coming up in 40.
Yeah, 40 seconds, and I think they know that if they do go for the Otacon, they need to go for a reset, and they won't be able to get there for the Soul, so they'll go for that instead.
The reason why this happens is because Viper's trying to follow up on Zeus' fully channeled Q to punish the TP, but Doran just instantly ults him and doesn't care, because he's on Bessa. And it was just a big mistake there. I think the idea on the punish is definitely, with a lot of other champions, correct, but sure, they get the shutdown, but it's just a big miss. And like you said, there's a salvage by Peanut here, but it still means T1 have full control. They take the safe call on the Otacon. I don't think they necessarily had to, but why throw this game away? Now you're even in gold. Dragon in 5.
2 item spikes done for Zeka. And this is the point where I think Hanwha Life, they're going to get this 5v5 win. Keria again. Can they find him?
It's Carrier's angle as he
Same
just
play.
knocks Peanut away. The heroic charge comes in now. The Pantheon comes through as well, but it's not quite as coordinated as we saw last time. Viper fighting against Doran though. Deadly Flourish comes in. They take down Owner, and now Doran finds himself inside the blender, and he will be taken out. Now the curtains have been called. Carrier slowed down. He is out of range of these shots, and now Zeka is 1v1ing against the Poppy and kind of losing. That was scary. And Carrier is able to walk his way out. Still this time, HLE find a fight.
I mean, Guma hits that arrow, it's a kill, he does miss it, but Hanwha Life will win their first Dragon of the game. And yes, it's the same play from Carrier. They only hit the jungler this time, and the follow-up isn't as clean.
And there's the 5v5 we were looking for Hanwha. They deny the soul. They also deny, as Delight is on the ward, do take note.
All right.
There's, no rest here.
Death Charge going to come through here, but Faker just decides he wants to kill Zeus, and he might be able to do so. Gumayusi in a fair bit of trouble as Zeka distracted by the Poppy once again. Viper now looking for an angle. Deadly Flourish, will it be in range? And he doesn't quite find it, but he doesn't need to. It's a double for Zeka, and HLE running away with it now.
At T1, they try to run the play back, but this time Hanwha says, come on, you can't do that to us 2 times in a row. And now the game firmly in their hands.
So watch Carrier here again, looking for that same play. Gets the flash, but only hits Peanut. If he hits Delight and Zeus there, maybe it's actually a better angle. And then the follow-up here from Owner, where you feel practically immortal, is pretty nice, but it's the turn here from Hanwha, where they actually peel back and deny Doran, giving Viper that space, and then the fight gets split up, as Zeka is also pushing Guma out on the top side. And once the Jhin is alive and has free reign, he can pop with shots like this. If Guma hits this arrow, Zeka dies, but it was just such a great call from Hanwha to peel back, take out the Mbessa, and then front to back in.
So this obviously, there's a TP coming in, so they're happy to take this fight. Nicely done by Delight, also get the cancel. What I want to highlight is the positioning of that fight. Last time we saw that play, 2 people got knocked away, but it also was in the wide open space of the river. What happened there was they tried to follow up. There was a free man queue from Zeus there, because what are they going to do? Not try to back up their Mbessa, not try to back up their Pantheon, but as a result, the fight firmly favor, and that is a gold grab I love to see.
Yeah, that was certainly a little bit of a
Up and
flat
down,
line.
up and down, and up and down.
Indeed, bit of a heart monitor, and you can imagine that this entire stadium full of some pretty high BPM at this point in time. Zeka moving towards his top lane, going to extend that gold lead just a little bit further forward. As HLE looking to try and take some control of this game. After game 1, I was a little bit worried. HLE looking a little out of sorts. Even in moments in this game, same thing could be said, that it might be that there is game forming on our hands. We might need a hand check, but we could do that a little bit later.
Some series?
Yeah, there could be some series.
Yeah.
We did jazz hands there just to let you guys know what we were up to.
Always do it.
Yes, just like this. Yeah, like this one, guys. No game just yet, as you can see, but we'll see what crops up later on in the series.
So, I mean, Baron is the objective that's up right now, but, you know, neither of these teams in a position to take it. Even with a 2-item victor, you know, it's not something you can do fast enough. You don't have enough control. So the next fight is likely going to be on this Dragon, unless something happens, right? A proactive play from Peanut, he gets a pick, or they're able to threaten a turn. That could be how Hanwha Life want to play this, but they are, again, denying vision of T1, forcing T1 to be in this area.
Yeah, Carrier.
TP.
Yeah, they're just looking for Zeka, and he is
It's a deep TP.
He is a long way away from everyone as he flashes towards Owner. The rest of his team is coming up, though, and his health bar is pretty high. He's still alive for now. The Death Charge comes into public execution, misses onto this Victor, who is just standing in amongst all of his bodyguards, and now Faker is singled out. It's Zeka's turn to close in. Faker's still looking for that damage, but now the fight is ensuing on the other side. Delight might give himself up, but the knockup is there from Zeus. He's trying to stand in the way, and Zeka might get executed here by Doran. He goes golden. The arrow! And Doran is still alive. They take him down as the arrow is going to be there from Gumayusi. As 3 for 3 is the trade. But it is only really the tanky members alive from HLE, and Gumayusi is still terrifying on his signature Varus.
And also domestic Doran is unreal.
This man, who is this guy, Wolf?
I mean, this guy is popping off in the fight, and it looks really messy because you can see the TP here from Doran and the Owner ult means you think you've collapsed on the Zeka. Realmore comes through, but Zeka gets over the wall, and there's so much peel, there's so much follow-up here. Carrier's ult completely whiffs, hits nobody here, and now you're in the blender of this this. Victor doing so much damage freely, but crucially, the re-engage there from Doran where they actually decide, okay, Faker's unsalvageable here, we're not going to be able to save him, we're going to take out Delight here, and then Guma has so much power. If Zeka tries to duel Guma, he could just get sniped because he's so low. Doran goes in on him here. Doran playing super well, and Zeka with the huge outplayer. Q comes in for Zeus, and also the Zonius means he does go down. Without his calls in that fight and how he split Hanwha Life up and how their decision to give up Baker there, I think this fight was a wash, and Hanwha Life would have crushed them.
I was not ready for the flanking Varus. That rim really got me.
Yeah,
I enjoy it.
and that kind of worked as well.
And yes,
yeah, weird.
So, a lot of sums are down for Hanwha. I do also want to highlight the restraint of Zeka on his stopwatch. That was actually insane. He waited until the arrows were in the air, but even before, I think a lot of players would stopwatch as soon as that play starts. But he really went for maxing the damage as another fight for the soul here, at least for T1, if they can get back space. But I think this is where Hanwha Life's comp should really shine. When they can get that front to back, Baker looking on the flank.
Let's see that carrier ult. That's the most important part of a lot of these fights.
Oh, the Ocean Rift.
You really don't get to front to back when a Poppy is in the game, especially when it's carrier.
He's got the heal set for a bit of a gap close as well.
Well, Faker is actually just going to try and take down the start in the mid lane. He will be successful, and remember, T1, they don't necessarily need to go for this.
He wants
but
Peanut.
they can, as here's the Keeper's verdict. They do get rid of the Psy on the front line. Is now gone. The Gravity Well is doing so much work here, as Zeka just walks away and lets that Arcane Storm do the work, but it's Gumushi, it's Faker, and they have so much damage, and they'll get the soul off the back end.
An insane fight here for T1. I thought they were certainly going to look for the smite for the soul, lock Peanut down, but they get the Scion instead, which is basically team fight winning in itself.
And the damage numbers might belong to Doran and Guma, but again, it's that Poppy!
Yeah, man. Carrier just removes that front line, and then they can't do anything about it. They rely so much on having that big tank.
Because without Scion, there is no one holding Doran back. Doran again finds the ult on Viper, and there is no one to stop him, no one to keep Zeka and Viper safe. And even though, yeah, Honor goes down, who cares? Your Pantheon dying at this point in the fight doesn't matter whatsoever. The backline is safe. That's the soul. And that's Baron as well.
Yep, I think the only thing that hit Gumushi there actually just ate his Edge of Night Shield to give him that little bit of extra value, who was otherwise completely untouched in that fight. 15 to 15 is the kill score, but it is the amount of objectives, it is the amount of control that T1 has in this game, now with Baron and the Soul.
I mean, practically speaking, T1 have lost one fight on objectives throughout this series thus far. It's just been their objective fighting that is so much better than Hanwha's, whether it's defensive or whether it's these tricky plays from Carrier. And now they're looking for a bit of a collapse here. Realm Warp not ready for Faker. I think they're just going to push Hanwha away.
Yeah, and look at the damage dealt numbers. This is absolutely insane. Both Gumushi and Doran running away with it.
And Carrier is the lowest in the game, by like a large margin as well.
But he has hit some of the best buttons.
Well, I mean, he's got them to soul.
Oh, yeah.
Like both fights were, it's insane.
It's ridiculous. In the mid lane, we've got the top laners trying to face off, but Chains of Corruption comes down towards his bottom lane. Delight probably lucky that that anchor didn't land. And T1, the war of attrition is just being won on their side of the rift. Here's the flanking teleport, though, as Gumushi could be in a lot of trouble. He doesn't have his shield, and he doesn't have a whole lot of hope, but he does flash. And the train is not even going to get the stun. The wind becomes lightning, misses. Is the knockup going to be there? The rest of T1 are turning up. Guma's still trying to kite this one out. He finally dies. The knockup is huge there from Delight at the same time, as HLE are trying to fight off Doran on the other side of the fight, and things are going completely wrong for HLE on the top side. Delight trying to get out. The flash in front from Carrier is just gorgeous, and Doran can do no wrong here in Busan.
And why Hanwha Life is firing skill shots into the nothingness of the rift. Doran is 1v2ing.
Yeah, I want to have a chat with Aslan, man. That guy is getting hit by everything there in Narnia.
Oh man, Doran is just having the series, again, just like he did yesterday, that you couldn't have predicted coming into Road to MSI. Not to say that the guy was weak, he was still one of our best top laners, but to see him do it this well and to really be on peak form. Yesterday we thought, okay, maybe it's because he's perfect, or it's because it's against perfect, because perfect is a much weaker top laner than Zeus. But I mean, he just has so much agency in this on an Ambessa that we've seen very little success in the LCK with.
I want you to look. Guma should have died.
Yeah, this is
so much
insane.
faster. This can't happen.
You missed
This can't happen.
the double
Miss
miss.
that. The Q gets fast. But you need that ult. He needs to get knocked up, and then Peanut also doesn't follow through on the W. And because Guma lives so long, if they kill him earlier, I think that they have an opportunity to peel off way faster to shift the damage, get cooldowns out, and then on the other end, as mentioned, this Ambassa with Ocean Soul, it is disgusting. The flash from Carrier to ensure that his top laner doesn't get CC'd. The sustain from the passive from Doran as well as that Soul is... Look at
that was blinded.
And
Well,
blind
kinda.
on the ultimate. I mean, it's a good predict. He knew the trajectory.
Death Dance, baby.
It's a risky call, and he goes for it. A few things missed here, but ultimately I don't think it matters. You know, hitting that flourish would have changed things. Carrier, the bodyguard, and Doran cleans up house. Man, T1 looking better than they have, I feel, all year long in the microcosm of this series.
Carrier with a big smile on his face here, and you can understand exactly why. They're looking at match point here in Busan. After destroying KT yesterday, the onslaught of T1 is looking to continue.
There's coordination that this roster has built over years. And there's also the strategy element of these drafts that we're seeing, the Poppy coming through.
All right, his health bar is looking a little bit large, but let's see how long it lasts. As there's another public execution. Doran getting in amongst 5 people underneath the turret. They haven't gone down just yet, but there's the Grand Starfall. Here is T1, and it's a double already for that man in the top lane. Zeka gonna go golden, and just watch as T1 rolls over the top like this wave that is just attacking them in their base. Viper, yeah, I think probably sticking around on this fountain is going to be the right idea, as T1 will move to match point here and make it possibly a pretty short one here in Busan.
And that bot side play, the power of friendship, T1 have done that exact thing so many times. Oh no, someone's out of position, and before you know it, reinforcements come in, the stall comes through, and the team fighting from T1 today, it's just outmatching Hanwha.
T1 completely on form as well. And even though in these first 2 games, Faker's felt a little quiet, he's doing his job well. And on the rise, your Realm Warp has so much utility. So sure, if you're maybe down on lane, the Victor's doing more damage than you, he's bigger than you, it doesn't necessarily matter. If you can make those rotational plays, if you can play the map better, if you can play the objectives better with this Poppy, and it feels like you couldn't get more T1 than how they may earn their spot at MSI. Their Game 3 draft yesterday, this draft here, they still got picks like the TF Faker's Galio in the pocket. And T1 is just 1 win away from a massive upset here.
God!
And Doran, man, he's playing against the guy who replaced him. And I think right now he's definitely sitting on top.
Yeah, domestic Doran is an absolute thing to behold. And we might have an opportunity to see a new and improved international version if they win just 1 more game here today.
Clearly, Doran's biggest opponent wasn't Zayd, it's still Krugs.
Yeah.
To this day!
Yeah, as far as the top lane tier list is concerned, it's Doran followed closely by Krugs, and then the rest. It is time for us to take a short break. When we get back, the space is going to break that one down, and then we'll have game number 3. See whether Humble Life Esports can put some game on these damn hands.
없을 거야.
이번에 공 한번 굴리자. 오케이.
아 괜찮아요.
안 패도 돼.
빨리 봐도 되는데.
넣었어. 저만 있어. 저만 바를게.
빨리요. 너무.
진진진진진. 좋아. 자, 아래 공, 아래 공. 다 타봐. 해봐.
안래. 야, 들어 맞아.
빅토르.
나탱이야.
무시해. 가을게.
나탱.
바텀. 얘들아, 바텀.
야, 맞아줘 고.
나도 맞아.
내가 맞아줄게. 나 카인이야.
내가 맞을게. 바텀 가.
너가 맞아 그러면.
아니, 노란.
대박 난말 안 되네. 나이스.
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 어이없.